FM.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. I tell you, this is going to be a great show. We wish we could have just gotten this show out over the air, not the airwaves, to get all Jamaicans involved in this topic for today. And I tell you, it's going to be one that everyone is looking forward to and talking about. This is The Rock. And on The Rock, I should tell you, you have a host today with the name Steve. I usually go by Stevie B when I was on the radio abroad, but I'm just Pastor Steve, and I will be having some wonderful guests joining us today. This is the only live talk show of its kind in all of Jamaica, where we take on biblical issues from all angles. Yes, maybe I shouldn't say all angles, but I want to tell you, this has the people of Jamaica and the people of the church thinking about the things we've heard, studied, believed, or read, causing believers and unbelievers to consider and or reconsider all these things that have gone into our minds, whether they're true or not, often glossed over. We just accept some things. We take on various biblical based issues. And at the end of the day, we come down to that question: what does the Bible say? Of course, it's a very important question that we try to answer with our guests each week. A very special welcome to those of you joining us via the web, love101.org. Welcome. And that's where we stream live. Welcome to those of you joining us via the other platforms, the Love 101 FM app, downloaded from the Google Play Store or the App Store. And of course, we do have those of you joining us each week via Facebook and YouTube. And let's not forget WhatsApp. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a part of this program. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your prayers. And thank you for remembering Love FM, the flag bearer, the standard bearer for gospel radio in Jamaica. Well, today we talk about a topic that many people ask about, and we have two very special guests. Is gambling and betting a sin? My gosh, how deep into gambling how deep into gambling is gambling? Well, we got to talk about some things. Is it evil? I wager this is one debate. Yes, I wager. I can bet you this is one debate you can bet has more than one side. Does gambling and betting mean you love money? Mm. What happens when you take a gamble? Isn't life just one big gamble? Mm. Big questions. Do you play the lottery? It's not just one company anymore. It's big. I tell people sometimes this is as big as church in Jamaica. Do I see people lining up all over the place for their lotto? Isn't life just one big gamble? Should Christians gamble? What does the Bible say? This is The Rock. Today, it's an amazing topic. Gambling and the betting. Are there different types? Godly gambles and blessed bets. Woo! Do we say, I'm blessed when you win the horse race? Think about it while I share some other thoughts with you today. I do have a few things on my mind. I've been seeing some videos across Jamaica. I'm very concerned. It's been the same concern for everybody. All the murders, all the things taking place. But you know what? Somebody said to me this morning, said, Pastor Blair, uh, what about the days when the Dons were here? When the Dons were here, we did not have this kind of behavior because the Don was in charge of the community. The Don was able to do some things. I go, wow. Well, when I met some of those Dons when I came back to Jamaica, and then I met some of the parents that were telling me about them having their daughters, and then I met some of the another parent that would say to me, she was told that her son had to join the work of the Dons, and when he didn't, they came in and burnt her house down, which I knew of personally. But the little boy out there couldn't run around and do what he wanted to do. Wow, Jamaica, there's some story here. I'm saying, wow. But beyond that wow of the Dons and what happened and how they could search for the person who did something and look to make sure that there was some level of order in their communities. What we're seeing today is young men who just don't care. And they have a gun in their hand 15 years old, the boy told me he was when he became a gunman. 15 years old. And of course, there are many much younger than that today that guns are placing in their hands, are being placed in their hands. And what we see is the wantonness. Boys who don't grow up in church, boys who don't grow up in Sunday school, no sense of life, no sense of respect for life. And what happens is when they go out, the video I got yesterday, I don't know how long this has been, but they say this guy just went shopping, and as he went shopping, he witnessed these gunmen, and they ran him down and shot him and killed him. I want to tell you something. Life is worth more than your $5,000 you get paid to do a hit. Life, life is worth so much more. You're taking somebody's father. You're removing somebody's son. You're destroying a home, especially when it's not another gang member, and we don't approve you killing another gang member, but you're moving out into society and destroying families. A girl now 2 years old, 3 years old, has to grow up without a father because you decided it was his time to leave the world. Ah, something's wrong here, and we've got to work very hard as Jamaicans. And you know what somebody else told me last week. They said, Pastor Blair, we understand your desire for us to turn in the gunmen. In fact, I was as at a conference with teachers, and I asked them, what was your worst moment? As I was doing the seminar with them, what was your worst moment as a teacher? And he says, I'm sitting down outside with my kids talking about something, and we hear some gunshots, and we bend down. We see a gunman jump over the fence and looks at us, and then he waves his finger and says, no. And I put my finger over my mouth and go, and he moves on. And I wanted to say, why didn't you turn him in? He says to me, Pastor Blair, when I left the school, some men walked up to me and said to me, the only reason you are alive right now is because you did not turn him in. The fear of our people is deep and strong, and the realities that they face are more than what we preachers just say. When people like me say, turn them in, we don't understand the fear that is taking place there on the outside, the lives of these people. I'm saying, gosh, we've got to sit down and work this out. But beyond this, in the next 4 minutes that I have, I've got to mention, and before I get to that second point, as a church, let's fast and pray. These walls must come down. These boys that are growing up today need to learn how to become men. And if their fathers aren't home, we can't have them just growing up and not going to Sunday school, growing up and doing whatever they want to do and staying home all day. And when they want money or when they want weed, they go out and extort somebody for it. We've got to do something quickly because our country is dying swiftly. Secondly, on my mind today is the hurricane preparations. We don't like to plan in Jamaica. We don't like to think about tomorrow. We want to live for today. And I was praying in August, and the Lord said to me, says, I'm going to bring rain, I'm going to bring flooding. And I taped it and I shared it with a few people because 2 days later, we began to see flooding in the US, flooding in Europe. I think when I read this morning, over 100,000 people dead because of flooding in Pakistan. From where I sit, I've had a chance to look over Helsha. To me, it seems as if the water is raising there. And I don't know. That has nothing to do perhaps with the rain, but the rain may be coming. The hurricanes may be coming. This is September in a couple of days. And my question must be, are you prepared for what seems like a season of rain and flooding? And you're going to say, well, I depend on God. But you know what God also told me? He says, I allow these moments to happen because people need to remember there is a God. People just live and exist, not caring about what's going to happen. And when something happens, all of Jamaica prays and all of Jamaica calls upon God. And God says, I allow these things to take place so that you can remember that the wrath of God exists when you put me on the back burner. Well, it can be more than wrath for you if you don't buy your corned beef and your tuna and your sausage and your things and pack up. When I went through Hurricane Ivan, I certainly remember having no light for 6 months, very little water, and having to go to a church to get food to feed 1,000 people across the island where I was living. I've got to say, don't wait until the battle begins. Prepare for the battle now, even in your Christian walk. Fast and pray before something happens. And then when something happens, you just begin to thank God for the victory. Don't wait until the hurricane comes. Don't wait until the storm comes. You've got to stand up now and prepare for it. Okay, so, and there's flooding. There's flooding. And flooding started in Jamaica already. So be careful and be ready. Next, COVID still a go on. COVID is on in Jamaica. COVID is on around the world. There, there are 2,835 2,835 deaths. So it's not much more than it was at the start of the year. It's getting better. But at present, there are 112 known cases in Jamaica. And I've met people who don't even go to the hospital, they just stay home. So there are more. And we're going to church and we're going on the street and we're going on the bus. Just take the time. Even with the fifth case of monkeypox, take the time to wear your mask. Take the time to take care of yourself because the life you save may be your own. Finally today, finally today, it breaks my heart. You know, something blew out of my car the other day, an envelope, a very important envelope, and I pulled over on the road to look for it. Eventually, I found the envelope, but I didn't find the thing that was in the envelope. And I saw so much garbage. And I'm saying to myself, you know, sometimes I pull people over and I said, don't throw that on the road. Or people sitting in a taxi and I stop the taxi and I say, that person in your car littering. Somehow, I've got to remind the government people don't care. We've got to move to a point of enforcement. But if we are truly patriotic Jamaicans, people who love this country, we would take care of every ounce of the rock. My gosh, the things I see flowing in the water, going under the bridge on the toll as I enter Portmore, especially when rain falls, it breaks my heart. And all I'm saying is one less piece of garbage from you and one less piece of garbage from somebody else can make a big difference. So don't throw that paper on the road. Please. I'm Steve Blair, and that's a piece of my mind here on The Rock. So let's go back to the topic today. I bet that at some point in life, you've taken a gamble in some way, shape, or form. Why are some persons saying that gambling and betting is a sin and evil? Or why do some say no way? I remember I'm pastoring in Cayman. Old lady says, Pastor, I'm late for church because I went and bought my number. I said, Lord have mercy. You can't change everything in some people. Why do some say there is nothing wrong with making a simple bet and wager? Mm, especially as Christians. That's our topic today. Post all your comments on this topic on our Facebook Live broadcast of The Rock or send us a WhatsApp message to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Rock. Voice notes must be no more than 30 to 40 seconds. Turn your radio down and we'll prepare to bring them on during the program. My guest today, Reverend Everell Edwards, and the ever energetic, ever my good friend, Father Sean Major Campbell, and they'll join me to talk about this topic and more when we get back from the break. This is The Rock. Rockites, we'll be right back.
In need of a loan? AIM Financial is the place to go. We have loans from $20,000 to $3.3 million. Get a loan to pay school or college tuition, medical expenses, bills, fix up your house, buy furniture and appliances, repair or buy a car. And when you're done, take a vacation loan. AIM has a loan for any purpose. Call AIM today. You won't find a better deal elsewhere. Guaranteed.
Love 101 now presents Facts on Monkeypox. There are no treatments specifically for monkeypox virus infections. For mild cases of monkeypox, over the counter medications like ibuprofen and acetaminophen can help with symptoms. Avoiding skin to skin contact is the best way to limit the spread of monkeypox. That was Facts on Monkeypox, presented by Love 101 FM.
Mommy, is who I ticket?
Hush, child, me no want them see we.
But mommy, is the census takers?
Me not tell them my business.
But mommy, they need information about all the households to help make decisions about where to put things like clinics, stores, and new roads.
So?
Come, mommy. You count, me count, all of we count.
Census Day is September 12th. Look out for the national census takers in your community and let them know you count.
Man on man, it's open house Wednesday inside the mailbox and you get to be our guest. Ladies, you too. Be sure to join us this Wednesday, August 31 at 5:30 p.m. where we'll open the phone lines to hear from the man them. Our open discussion will be about what do men need in a relationship. That's the Mailbox, the program designed for men, hosted by men with guests who are men. And it's going to be an open house this Wednesday, so the phone lines will be open for you to call. The Mailbox happens every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. with hosts Pastor Courtney Morrison and Kevin Bailey, right here on Love 101, the family station. The Mailbox is sponsored by Fossage Company Limited, your electrical, solar, and lighting people.
Get ready to move through uplifting music inside Alive 1 to 5. This Make Me Move Monday, August 29. 2 o'clock will be your prayer blast feature. More prayer, more power. 2:15 inside Body Talk, we'll take a look at health and life insurance. Then at 3:15, we bring you What Does the Bible Say? Exploring speaking in tongues. All this and more will come your way inside Alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. with me, Sarah, and the Chirpy One on the family station, Love 101, Jamaica 60.
Wow, wow, wow. Welcome back. It is Tuesday morning on the Rock. Well, Tuesday morning on the Rock, Jamaica, Jam Rock. But of course, on Love is Tuesday morning on the Rock with Steve Blair, Pastor Steve Blair, Bishop Steve Blair, Bishop Herro Blair, whatever you want to call me. But you know what? This is Love. There's no question where you are. Jamaica's number one gospel station. Jamaica's number, let's say, 4 station out of 30, 40, I don't know. But at the end of the day, you're on the Rock with me. And a very special good morning to you. Let me see what's happening on Facebook. Good morning, Facebook guys. Look, I see Courtney Palmer. Wow. Elsie Knight as always. Doris Nelson, good morning to you. Paulette Stevenson. Do you know I know a Paul Stevenson? Good morning to you. Karen and Marlene and everybody. Good morning and welcome to the Rock. I see you. I see you. I see you. And we also have some very special guests. But, you know, gambling and betting is our topic. Do you go to the races and make bets? Do you make or take bets on sports like football and basketball? Do you play games of chance, such as those with cards, poker and blackjack, and games with dice and Ludo and Monopoly? Well, maybe you played dominoes and played for money. I mean, I just played for fun. I just love to give that 6 love. Where do you draw the line? Post all your comments on this topic on our Facebook Live broadcast of The Rock. And send us a WhatsApp message or voice note to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Rock. Maybe you were a gambler. I want you to call in later. If you were a gambler and God saved you and you stopped, or if you're a Christian and you're gambling and you want to talk about it, maybe about 10 past 11, I'm going to tell you to start calling. I want to hear your voice, want to hear what you have to say. On the Rock today with me, Reverend Everett Edwards and Father Sean Major Campbell. Pastor Edwards is a sinner saved by the amazing grace of the Lord Jesus Christ. And he is keen to see others come into the same experience. Originally from Maypen, Clarendon, Everett is a past student of Calabar High School, otherwise known as Rabalak. Yes, he's also from UWI and the College of Theology and Interdisciplinary Studies. He's been a pastor since 1998 and presently pastors the flock at Church of the Open Bible, Twickenham Park. And I still can't believe I can't make the time to sit down with you, and we're less than a mile away with our churches. He's married, a father of three, and grandfather of one. Also joining us, my good friend who pastored in the Cayman Islands while I pastored in Cayman. He is controversial. He is always on the cutting edge. That's Father Sean Major Campbell. This very often controversial or least thought provoking father is an Anglican priest, lay magistrate, and advocate for human rights. He writes regularly in the family and religion section of the Sunday Gleaner, and we welcome him. Is this the first time? I can't believe my producer is doing this to me for the first time to the Rock. Gentlemen, welcome this morning.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you.
you,
Thanks for
and a
having us.
very good day to you and to all the listeners. Wonderful to be here. I noticed you brought my mind back to Hurricane Ivan, but we won't go down
Can you
that road at
imagine?
all.
Boy, boy. Well, maybe you can bring it up, because what I'm going to ask you guys to do now, you gentlemen to do, is we want to just use the next 7 minutes to discuss my four points of argument today: the wickedness going on, our lack of preparation for hurricanes and flooding, and our thoughts concerning COVID and littering. So if you heard those things that I mentioned, gentlemen, we have 5-6 minutes. Can I hear your thoughts on what I had to say? Pastor Edwards, you first.
I wish I could add to the concerns you have about crime. It is easy to say that the heart of man is deceitful and desperately wicked. Who can know it? But there are some things I believe we can make conscious effort
Yes.
to address, to correct, to stem the flow. And it begins in the home. It begins with the parenting. That's the primary opportunity we have to make a difference in the generation coming. And quite frankly, some of who we call irredeemable, maybe if we were spending a little more time with them, if we were finding out where they were and rebuilding the disconnect, we could accomplish a lot more than a crime plan. That is what I would say about the crime situation. It's certainly not something to give up hope. We just need to realize that all of us have a part to play in it. And again, it begins with the parenting. The matter of our hurricane preparedness. Take charge, eh? Take charge of your space. Um, More of us taking charge of our spaces would mean taking charge of what is happening in our communities. Uh, Strangely enough, in my mind, a lot of the preparation actually begins with the littering. If we clog the waterways with garbage, then we really should not be too surprised if we have flooding in some low-lying areas. If we were a little more attentive to the maintenance of the spaces around us, again, we could have impact there. So the preparation begins with each person being responsible for their area. And again, don't go build house on the riverbank or on the gully bank, and then you get flooded out. And government must save you, or when government comes to evacuate you, you don't want to move. It's a no-win situation. That those would be the comments I have. And then as somebody who has just come out of COVID, um, it is real, and I honestly don't think that we are getting the full story as to the impact of COVID lingering in the community. Those would be my
Yes, let me run into
contribution,
Father
sir.
Sean real quick. Father Sean?
Well, just to say, on all these matters, crime, littering, COVID, the hurricane, that something I think we often forget, and it is the role and importance of the individual in accepting responsibility and being proactive with regards to how we contribute to mitigating the various factors around these concerns. So how many persons are remembering to call 311, Crime Stop? How many persons are calling out to each other regarding the littering? And how many persons remember that COVID still a keep, you know? Because we see so many different kinds of behaviors that would suggest a kind of disregard. And finally, the Hurricane One, I really believe it is important for us to listen to that still small voice, that inner voice. I never forget in Cayman, one Sunday morning, it was like early July, the year of Ivan, which came September, what, 12 or thereabout?
2004.
Sorry, yes, 2004, yes. That year. So that year in July, one Sunday morning, early in July, I invited the church committee to come across the rectory. I had a ladder set up below the manhole that would lead into the roof. And when they got up there, I said to them, I am not trained in building technology, so I do not know whether this roof would hold in a major hurricane. But I thought I would invite you to have a look and for us to see if we could invite some professional to advise us. And the professional advice was, this roof will not hold in a major hurricane. And so the roof was changed. So that was the Sunday morning. The Monday morning, I called the insurance company, car insurance, and asked them to just double check whether or not my car had hurricane cover, my wife's car and the church bus. And when I did, the person laughed and said, why, what kind of question that? Why you expect hurricane? and then she said, yeah, man, you're all right. And I said to her, if you don't mind, I would like to come into the office and watch you endorsing my policy with the words hurricane cover. And
Father
I
Sean,
went
we're going to
there.
go to a break, and when we come back, I want to hear the rest of the story because this is
Okay.
important. My church lost our roof, and I'll tell you about that. We'll be right back. It's The Rock. I'm Steve Blair.
Get ready for another Testimony Tuesday inside Alive, 1 to 5, August 30th. 2 o'clock will be time for Prayer Blast. More prayer, more power. 2:15 inside the evidence, we hear the testimony of Charmaine Williams, her experience of God's power through obedience. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit of recording gospel artist, marriage officer, and pastor of the Miracle Outreach Temple, Reverend Debbie Stedman. All this and more will come alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. with me, your host, Sarah Ann, the chirpy one on the family station, Love 101, Jamaica 60, reuniting a nation for greatness.
I am from St. James, and the SOE bring down murder in my community. The SOE, them a work for it.
The time brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister is
just about 10:32.
CIBC First Caribbean reminds customers that our ABM cards will be deactivated on August 31, 2022. If you haven't already done so, please upgrade to our Visa debit card now by visiting your home branch to request a card. If you have already requested a card, when collecting it, please bring with you a valid photo ID, proof of address, and documentation to confirm your source of income. CIBC First Caribbean thanks you in advance for collecting your Visa debit card as soon as possible.
Monkeypox is in Jamaica. If you are experiencing fever, intense headache, muscle aches, and/or rash on the skin, you must isolate immediately and call ahead to your health center or doctor before visiting. All members of the public should wear a mask, frequently wash hands, and practice physical distancing. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
You're invited to listen to Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. We'll give you tips on how to make your money count, how to save, and how to grow your worth. It's all inside Dollars and Cents, brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. That's Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Wow. Let's go right back to Father Sean as he shared with us his COVID, not his experience before Ivan. This is important. I'll take a few minutes with you, Father Sean. Go ahead. Your mic's muted. Father Sean? Well, while he's coming back up, if there's a topic that you'd like to discuss, even a topic that may have the church on different sides of the fence, well, let us know. You can always give me a call, 876-295-9141, or email me at transformjamaica@hotmail.com. Father Sean is back with us. Father Sean, just finish up your story because it's very
Yes.
interesting as we try to encourage people to prepare.
Yes, so I went in, I watched them endorse the policy with the words hurricane cover. And you will recall that after the hurricane, and by the way, all those vehicles were covered when the sea came over.
Yes.
And the sea also entered the rectory. And you will recall that after the hurricane, a lot of documents and files were destroyed in many offices because they were inundated by the sea. And they were doing all kinds of different processes to recover certain files. Well, when I went in, my policy would have been one of the first ones honored, even without their being able to access some of the material, because they remembered clearly that I had come in and ensured that they had the words hurricane cover. They remembered that so clearly. And then when Ivan came into the rectory, I recall my wife and I sitting on the dining table and just watching things floating around us and stretching my foot across the sofa to pull it across to just rest my feet on it. And you remember, Ivan was over us for 36 hours.
Yes.
And one of the things I recalled saying while sitting on that table, thankfully a heavy Jamaican mahogany dining table, so it didn't float. And I said, isn't it interesting that in the Bible, we are never told that there would be no storms. Instead, what we see is that it matters who is in the boat with you during the storm. And then so the dreaded Ivan came, and wow, what an experience that was. And today
What
I am
was 5 feet high in
maintaining.
my church? And my roof was blown off, thanks to the Baptist Church, First Baptist of Cayman, that came and put it back on after I spent the summer working with
By
a
the
few
way,
people.
Steve, and by the way, just before Ivan came that week, it was about maybe the Thursday. Remember now, Ivan was not forecast to come to Cayman. Ivan was supposed to be just skirting the south coast, southwestern coast of Jamaica, and then it would go up north past the west coast of Jamaica up to Cuba. And while we were getting that news saying it's not coming to Cayman, I had the groundsman battening up. And I will never forget the person we call the People's Warden came by the rectory and he said, "Oh, Father Sean, you look like you expect storm, man." And I said to him, "Boy, you make me feel like Noah." And the next thing we knew, the Weather Channel was saying, "Cayman, expect the worst." expect the worst. And so I think it is so important that we do not just take things for granted. We don't just assume, right now, even right now, with some of the forecasts we're having about over the next few days and unstable weather. The fact is, some parts of Jamaica have been experiencing heavy weather, but some places where people aren't getting the heavy rainfall, they are just saying to themselves, "Oh, it's so the Met Office give out, bulletins all the time and nothing no happen." Well, we need to take these things seriously and recognize that we have a duty, a responsibility. God has blessed us with the gift of reason, and we should make wise decisions, plan, and prepare.
Thank you very much. This is the first time I've gone, 8 minutes or an extra 6 minutes into my rant and rave into the program. But I just think, through, as the Holy Spirit led you then and is leading us now, that we encourage our people to be prepared. And I want to ask you a question, Father Sean. You could have made a lot of money if you'd bet people and tell them that. If you'd bet them and tell them.
I never even know what the number was for hurricane.
Gentlemen, our topic today, betting and gambling. Let's just start our thoughts on this topic. Church in Jamaica has been fighting over the years, but very little teaching has been done within our churches regarding this issue. And I know this is going to be a wonderful topic, because each week as we bring these topics on, people say that they don't discuss these issues in their churches, and they've been looking forward to the program. So I'll start with Pastor Everett Edwards, because I don't know what's going to come out of the mouth of Sean Major Campbell, and I will save him from to throw the curveball. So, Pastor Edwards, this whole topic of betting and gambling, if you're like me, I see thousands of people every day lined up across Jamaica. And I should mention, more women than men lined up across Jamaica buying their numbers. What does the Bible have to say about gambling? What is gambling, and why is it so heavily favored by people?
Let me start with what I think is the reason for it being so heavily favored. It represents a shortcut to increasing what you have currently, what you are sure of, what you have in your hand. And it offers you 10 to 1. You can mega your money and whatever else we use to seduce or induce people into spending hard-earned money, school fee, uniform fee, some of the back-to-school money, in the hope that we can significantly boost what we have. That is a big seduction. I read a line somewhere that says, the house always wins. But again, the danger for me in gambling is the seduction that it provides. That and with after the seduction is grief that follows. As a little boy, I went to school with a lot of apprentice riders and knew quite a number of jockeys and trainers and what have you. And little by little, I was becoming quite a bookmaker myself, in fact, a promoter. And at 13 years old, I was racing marbles for money on the veranda of my guardian's house, because the idea was that by 12 o'clock, I could go up to Reynolds Road and place a couple bets myself, because I had heard what was live prospects for Caymanas Park later. So yeah, there is a seduction, reaping where you have not sown, in essence.
I can remember, as you say, Red Hills Road, me at Dunrobin Primary playing, we called it tar, and then we played with elastic bands, and we played with marbles, and I'd go home one day with my hand full of elastic bands, and Bishop Dr. the Honorable Herro Blair looks at me and goes, "What happened? You're coming home with things you never left with? You're
Yeah.
gambling now?" And he said to me, "This is the last day you're going to gamble."
Yeah. Yeah.
I, I will
Uh,
never forget what transpired afterwards.
yes. But
Yes, but it starts simple. It starts simple for us as young boys in the country, and
there you
it,
go.
it develops further because I can never forget how excited I was as a child to be winning all these elastic bands from everybody else and playing to win.
Hmm.
Um, I will never forget that whole thing. Let me just read something here very quickly in terms of um, compulsive gambling. It says gambling can stimulate the brain's reward system, much like drugs or alcohol can, leading
Hmm.
to addiction. So many people out there that are gambling don't realize how addicted they are. If you have a problem with compulsive gambling, it says you may continually chase bets that lead to losses, use up savings, create debt, and you may hide your behavior and even turn to theft or fraud to support your addiction, which I've
Hmm.
seen with some people I've dealt with. You've turned your camera sideways, Pastor Edwards.
Sorry,
So
sorry.
you're sideways again. Yes, that's much better. So
That's it.
it is somewhat seen as something compulsive and can be addicted. Let me hear what my friend Father Sean has to say. Major Campbell, uh, I don't think I've ever met your wife, and I heard you
Yes,
talk about
sir.
your wife a while ago, my brethren.
Yes, my son was was also in Cayman before I left there.
Whoa, whoa.
Yes. So just to observe, first of all, and I guess I will share some words from the late Archbishop of Canterbury, William Temple, who
Mm,
actually said, gambling challenges that view of life, which the Christian church exists to uphold and extend. Its glorification of mere chance is a denial of the divine order of nature. It
mm,
is recognizing that gambling, an element of gambling is fantasy, and fantasy has the capacity to distort reality, which is not the healthiest thing to guide one's life by. Yes, we all fantasize, but if you get locked into fantasy, you're going to get into trouble there. Yeah. However, having said that, I want to observe that I believe we lose out as church when we rush to shut down the conversation by simply saying, oh, gambling is a sin and you shouldn't do gambling and blah, 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 blah. End of story. And then we do not benefit from a necessary conversation about gambling. When we have the conversation, we are better able to bring to the table concerns about how or why not in relation to gambling, concerns about the industry itself, concerns with regards to the individual. And you raised one earlier when you made reference to the addictive nature, which of course does not necessarily apply to everybody. Some persons are
no.
more prone to being compulsive than some. Um, I recall in many moons ago when I used to spend more time in Florida. And it was like run up the bill for everybody to buy lotto. And I remember stepping into a colleague's house, clergy colleague, and he said, I'm shocked. I'm wondering why is he asking me these questions. I said, "Oh, Sean, what's your birthday? What's your wife's birthday? When is your wedding anniversary?" And he's asking these questions. So and I'm giving him the dates. And I'm puzzled. And he says, "Oh, I just want some numbers from a lotto ticket." You know? And reminding us that there and many people still do, where they spend $1 to buy a lotto ticket and they're not spending more than that. They actually budget for it. I believe there is a difference. And by the way, I'm saying this recognizing that even my own Diocese of Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, maintains the position that Christians should not be involved in gambling. So with that said, I'm going on to note, I believe in 2022, we should not be just giving people rules and saying this is the rule of the church.
Right.
Instead, we should be having conversations with people and helping people to be more measured and more responsible, recognizing the fact that many people from church are buying lotto every day. They're playing the different numbers every day. It's just that they know that they have to hide. And so if we're not careful, we end up promoting hypocrisy. I believe
Well,
the
Father
ongoing
Sean.
task of education.
And I like that word you just used, and the next word you used, which was education, hypocrisy to education. Because let's talk about the church as we try to help people today. Several years ago, and if not even today, many churches had raffles, which is today highly considered as gambling.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we address this with our own people? Some churches still do. Some churches still have things where everybody puts in money and somebody wins. It's always a game of chance. How do we say that gambling is a sin when we ourselves have been participating? And let me throw another spoke in the wheel. I look at the Bible, and as I look at the Bible, I'm looking at Jonah. I'm looking at the men at the cross. I'm looking at the disciples casting lots to choose a disciple, casting lots to get Jesus's garments. Where do we draw this line that moves us from hypocrisy to reality? Because we're telling people this is sin.
And so what some have suggested is
Well, hold on, Father Sean.
Go ahead,
Let me
Father.
bring in Pastor Everald and come back to you. Go ahead, Pastor Edwards.
The challenge we have is deciding, do we fulfill what has been given to us as our responsibility to be fruitful and to tend the garden and to multiply. The business of tending the garden means work. The account that we must give is, what do we do? What have we done with what has been entrusted to us? That is the basis upon which you want to encourage persons. It is better to go the approach of one cocoa full basket. Take your time, set your goals, and go after them, rather than taking the bird in hand and try and catch 10 birds flying high by and then losing everything. And the people that you have depending on you, or the purposes that are dear to your heart, all get lost. And then you come back next time and take even more hard earned resources to try and recover what you have lost. That is the seduction, the deception, that is what leads to the addiction that you are accomplishing, or you must accomplish, and you must accomplish it by a certain time and in a certain way, rather than going the painstaking and far more rewarding and sustainable route. So you work hard for it and you take better care of it. And when you are being faithful to your family and teaching them to be good stewards, everybody enjoys the reward, and the enjoyment is a little more fulfilling. We know the stories of people who win large sums, and a couple months down the road, they are right back to where they were before they won.
Okay, Father Sean.
Yes, so I want to note that it is important for us to make the distinction between the gambling per se and, if you will, the purpose. So, like you made reference to lots being cast in the Bible, yeah? Why were they doing it? What was the intention? To break it down a little more, there are motor vehicle accidents on the road every day, but there is a difference between motor vehicle accidents and driving. Driving does not become automatically bad because motor vehicle accidents can happen. And a driver is not necessarily reckless because it is possible for a motor vehicle accident to take place. So there's a difference between reckless driving and motor vehicle accidents. There is a difference between someone who may have a bottle of beer, a drink of wine, and somebody who is a drunkard. Just because somebody has the potential to abuse alcohol does not automatically make alcohol something bad. So there are these dynamics that I believe ought to be brought to the conversation, even this, regarding the topic of gambling.
We see the challenges though, and for me, just starting off this program, the challenges present itself. You talk about your friend in the States. We talk about Jamaicans who go to the States on a regular basis. So they're leaving church here. We're describing this as a sin. We've not discussed why it is a sin, and if it is, they're going to America and they're seeing their brothers and sisters in the church and those who they grew up with in the church buying their lottos. Um, and then you have the other set of Christians, even Jamaican Christians, because people are writing me on the program right now and they're saying, but Pastor Blair, what about those of us who dream about numbers? God guides us by our dreams, they say, and God gives us these numbers. And these are the numbers that are winning. Why would God give it to me if I'm not to use it? The confusion is there for our people that are listening right now. How do we answer them?
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking about a deception, though, if you
Yep.
don't mind
Speak up a little bit, Pastor Edwards. I can barely hear you.
yeah, I'm saying, if you don't mind my making the observation, there is a deception. The prospect, everybody is presented as a winner when you have a ticket to your dreams. The deception comes because we only see the likelihood of winning. How many people must lose so that you can win? That's one factor to consider. The business of um, a quick fix, the business of wanting to reap where you have not sown has far greater implications for the individual. And if we continue to feed that as a country, as a culture, then we're going to find more and more people who are not prepared to improve themselves, to qualify themselves so that they can earn. And then when you go to them to offer them a job, them said, that can't pay me enough because with one fell swoop, I can be a millionaire. Until that happens, I will beg or borrow or steal so I can go gamble. And if you notice, the persons who are organizing and facilitating gambling don't tell you the revenue that they make. They tell you what they pay out in winnings, and they tell the investors what the profit margins are. You must be a good detective to go do the work to find out how much is being raked in from gambling as revenue.
Obviously, the facts are, especially when we look at the horse racing and the lottos, only a small percentage of the large numbers that purchase win. And people don't look at those things either. But I can tell you, gambling is a growing machinery in Jamaica because every little bar, every little club somewhere, every little super wholesale are putting in more machines every single day. It just simply means either that people have lost faith in the way to go in society. And I can tell you stories that don't necessarily lead to gambling. A young man saying to me, Pastor Blair, I did my A levels. I tried to get to UA. I tried to get money to borrow. Couldn't get a guarantor for student loan. Couldn't get anybody to guide me. And eventually, a friend came to me and said, "You know what? Come and scam with me." And today, the young man says he's a scammer, and there's no way no one can get him to work ever again because he's making his money. We're going to take a break.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and ask some very important questions about gambling to our guests because we want to answer your questions. You can send your questions over WhatsApp 876-997-3125. Send them over Facebook or YouTube. I'm right here to answer you with our guest. This is The Rock. We'll be right back.
Shake and go with true shake. Shake and go. Grab a true shake and go. When me have to put in the work, but I'm moving slow. Grab a true shake and go. School time and a joke time. Office study hard, brain full time. Grab a true shake and go. When we up in the gym, we have to stay healthy and fit. Grab a true shake and go. Shake and go with True Shake. Packed with 9 grams of protein, 24 key vitamins and minerals to keep you going. Grab a true shake and go.
Love 101 presents Facts on Monkeypox. The monkeypox virus comes from the same family of viruses as smallpox, but it is not related to chickenpox. Common symptoms of monkeypox are fever, headache, muscle aches, and swollen lymph nodes. Monkeypox also causes a rash that looks like raised bumps on the skin. The virus typically spreads through bodily fluids or by touching the rash of someone who has monkeypox. Animals can also pass the virus to humans either by being scratched or bitten by the animal or by preparing, eating meat, or using products from an infected animal. That was Facts on Monkeypox, presented by Love 101 FM.
When you think of glasses, it's Blue Shades Optical, your vision or focus. For all your eyeglass needs and more, come see us for stylish frames, lens, comprehensive eye exams, medical care for glaucoma, chemical burns, pterygium, and screening for diabetic eye disease. Plus, our big back-to-school sale of up to 40% discount. Visit us now at 3.5 Caledonia Road, Mandeville, beside Proactive Lifestyle upstairs near Express Fitness, or call us at 876-835-5547. When you think of glasses, it is Blue Shades Optical.
You're now invited to listen to Tech Time Drive. It's brought to you by Bert's Auto Parts.
It hurts if you don't check first. Be excellent customer service. Our staff is knowledgeable and trustworthy. And we have a wide variety to supply society. And the price is right, yes, it's worth it. The solution to your auto parts needs to one-stop shop. And we deliver to, so if you can't come in, just link with our WhatsApp. Or call and make your order. And remember, there's no other. So it hurts if you don't check first. So there's no need to search. It hurts if you don't check first.
Drivers, keep 100% of your attention on driving at all times. No multitasking. Don't use your phone or any other electronic device while driving. If you must, pull over, do what you have to do, and then get back on the road. I'm Nigel Wilkinson of Love 101 FM, the family station, and we are reminding you to take time drive.
It hurts if you don't check first. Be excellent customer service. Our staff is knowledgeable and trustworthy. And we have a wide variety to supply society. And the price is right, yes, it's worth it. The solution to your auto parts needs to one-stop shop. And we deliver to, so if you can't come in, just link with our WhatsApp. Or call and make your order. And remember, there's no other. So it hurts if you don't check first. So there's no need to search. It hurts if you don't check first.
A Moment for Parents, brought to you by Parenting Jamaica, a program of the I Believe initiative. Parenting is the most difficult job in the world. Thankfully, Parenting Jamaica has some tips to help you do a better job. Here's one. When it comes to parenting, style is key. Authoritative parenting offers children a good balance of showing love and setting limits. Rules are clearly defined and consistent, and parents ensure children experience the negative and positive consequences of their behavior. Authoritative parenting produces the best results in children. Children from these homes tend to be self-confident and self-controlled. They tend to do well in school and display other positive life skills. Authoritative parenting is the ideal parenting style. Make it your parenting style. A Moment for Parents was brought to you by Parenting Jamaica, a program of the I Believe initiative.
Get ready for another Testimony Tuesday inside Alive, 1 to 5, August 30th. 2 o'clock will be time for Prayer Blast. More prayer, more power. 2:15 inside the evidence, we hear the testimony of Charmaine Williams, her experience of God's power through obedience. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit of recording gospel artist, marriage officer, and pastor of the Miracle Outreach Temple, Reverend Debbie Stedman. All this and more will come alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. with me, your host, Sarah Ann, the chirpy one on the family station, Love 101, Jamaica 60, reuniting a nation for greatness.
My gosh, I tell you something, that music was added to this program about a year ago. When I first heard it, I go, I'm going to get back into music and produce a little jingle, a little tune for the rock. But tell me something, I'm hooked. I hear that music coming on. I know there's a discussion about a break and something's going to happen. Wow. W-O-W, wow. I tell you, so much more to talk about. We already have some voice notes, and we want to hear what you have to say. I'm also going to open the phone lines about 10 minutes. 876-9. I can't believe I haven't given the phone number in a while. 968, is it? 8327 8328. And the WhatsApp number is 997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. So get ready. I'm going to go straight into the voice notes and hear what's happening on WhatsApp. But remember, you can call 876-968-8327. And you can also post your comments on our Facebook and YouTube page. which is what you're doing. So let's take that voice note that we have, and then come back into hearing what's happening on Facebook.
Good morning. I'm listening to your program about Christian and gamble. I do not gamble, but I was sitting here listening and I was saying that maybe there are some persons they don't have a job, so maybe they used to gamble, so they don't have a job, so maybe that's gambling. They make up by a cash pot, and so don't get me wrong, I don't gamble, and I not introduce anybody to gamble. But as I said, some of them they are not working, and I mean, maybe them do that to Bible until when the Lord bless them with something else. Or I believe that when you're having rally and they will said, $5,000 to take down the leader or whatever. To be a part of gambling still.
Wouldn't agree with that, Pastor Edwards.
I wouldn't. And I approach the rally thing from a different perspective. If we say that the talent that we are using to sing, to dance, to recite, whatever it is given to us by God for that purpose, lifting up his name and edifying his people, that we turn around and corrupt the value of that by offering somebody 5,000 to come off or 10,000 to stay on. That is my approach to the whole rally thing in church as fundraising. When it comes to until God blesses me, I will help myself by buying a lotto ticket. It is unfortunate that we find ourselves in a community where we don't feel comfortable going to somebody and saying we have a need, we're not working, and there are bills to be paid and children to be fed, and you are so out of it that you can't get a help, you can't get something to tide you over, at least to make ends meet until you find a job. That, in my understanding, is what community, and in particular Christian community, is all about. For me, my thinking is that you want to be wholesome and practical in the care that you extend, so that what we all should be striving after is not just for the people who have a job and have resources, but it's for those who have jobs and have resources to be able to help those who do not, so that nobody who turns to gambling can have the lack of help as the reason. We can't use that as an excuse that there is no help available. So rather than go thief, I go gamble.
Okay, there's so much going on, and so many people sending in messages. I do want to go back to Father Sean in a second, but let me do something I should have done at the start of the program. And I know we've mentioned it, but not fully defined it. So gambling, play games of chance for money. So you're making a bet that something is going to happen. That I've not had a chance to watch horse racing as much as I did when I was growing up, and I had the time to watch TV. I don't watch TV as
Rusty,
much anymore.
rusty. Mhm.
But let's say I would be betting that Rodriguez on Legal Light was going to win. Well, two different eras, and I was going to be betting that it was going to happen in a certain way or whatever. That is what gambling is all about. It's trying to make money by chance. Another thing says gambling is a wagering of something of value on an event with an uncertain outcome with the intent of winning something else of value. Gambling thus requires elements of consideration, risk, and a prize. And so you watch men with their horse racing papers and they sit down all day trying to figure out how is this going to happen. Then they try to determine, well, just like the numbers. I can never for the life of me, Father Sean, when I stand in the supermarket or in the wholesale watching people buy them lotto, and they look at the chart on the wall at all the numbers that win already and how the numbers go to try and determine with those numbers what's going to happen with the next set. Boy, this gambling thing. Father Sean?
It's like you have to study it. I think they have to study it. But I believe the lady who had her question there, she raises a very important question, because we have a number of Jamaicans who want to work, but they are not finding a job, not able to find a job, and they have a loved one who sends maybe a 50 or $100 to them from overseas, and they decide that they're going, when they change this, they're going to put down something out of it in relation to their whatever their gambling activity is. And I believe it is easier for some of us than others to make a decision that we are not going to gamble. It is more difficult for some. And I think it is important to keep that in mind. This is not to say that this excuses any activity that may be deleterious, and disadvantageous to the person who is gambling. It is to recognize that decisions around whether to gamble or not to gamble are often surrounded by a number of complex issues and concerns. And so I am wary of being too quick to judge people and to condemn them. I believe, and this is why I think it is so important to have conversations with people, to in a pastorally sensitive way, listen to them, hear what is happening to them. And so very often in a humane conversation, that person eventually processes and gets to a place where he or she oftentimes will actually say, boy, this is not the best way to go. And that is why the lady there spoke about the matter of somebody saying, boy, until God bless me with so and so. These are very human conversations, very realistic conversation. And like I mentioned before, we are at different stages and phases. And when I have had a chance to talk with people even about the subject, my thing is not to see how I can get them to feel guilty. Instead, it is to have this conversation and have a deep conversation and get into the matter of and sometimes the way forward is raising questions for the purpose of conversation, which help everybody to process together. The whole matter of, is this the best approach to stewardship? If the money I have in hand right now is my child's lunch money, is to pay school fee, it is to pay rent or mortgage or utilities, what is that the inner voice saying to me about wisdom? What do I believe is the wise thing to do? that kind of conversation. I believe we need more of that
But we do
versus
have
the
evidence of a lot of that happening. Men who would take the money, men and women who would take that money that is for a bill or for a school fee or for a
correct,
child, yeah, for rent, and they don't win. But once
correct, and
again, the whole thing of
that
chance is driving them
mhm.
to hope.
And so there is a difference between that individual and the individual who says, I am going to budget for so and so and so. And I'm going to say something here, pretend you didn't hear it. So I never forget one morning in church, this is when I was in Cayman, and a member stood up. It was just before summer was beginning. And a member stood up in church and she told me she was going on a cruise for, for her vacation. And the cruise has a casino on it. And she was wondering, what if she wins some money? Well, like I said, pretend you didn't hear me saying this, but I told her I hope she remember our church. Because again, here is somebody who, for the whole year, she would never think of going to be gambling. She's not interested in that. She don't want to live a life of gambling. She doesn't want gambling to be her career, which it shouldn't be anyway. She's saying that as part of our vacation, when she goes on this vacation, she will also go into the casino. Speaking of casino, by the way, on 2 different occasions, I got a tour of the large casino on Paradise Island in the Bahamas. Beautiful place.
Yes, at the
But
hotel,
but having
Atlantic.
having correct, beauty, really beautiful. But
Yes.
having toured it, it did not leave me feeling like I needed to go back or I wanted to go and gamble or anything like that. But I am recognizing that still in the midst of it all, a number of persons have found their standard of living improved because they were able to get jobs, you know. But still in the midst of that, there are people who, just like with the case of drugs, who will actually steal to feed the gambling habit. So it is so we have to constantly be looking at both sides. But a very basic question for the Christian is this good stewardship of the resources that God has given to me or God has loaned to me? Is this what I want to model for my children? You know,
Elsie
what is
Knight says
motive?
on Facebook, she says a lot of Christians not reading and living the word. The Bible says, He is our shepherd. I shall not want, and 1,000 cattle upon the hill belongs to him. So if we trust God and depend on him, he will supply our needs. How do we balance this thing called faith? This thing called faith, where instead of giving this money to a gambling company where we have 0.05% chance of being a winner, um, and giving it to God or just trusting God to provide the needs. Where do we draw this line? And we
I
trust that.
believe I
Yeah, you go ahead.
just before Pastor Everell, just to say I really believe that the way forward for the Christian is a position of faith. I believe in trusting God that God does indeed provide. But I'm also recognizing that we all not exactly at the same place on the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Over to Pastor Everell.
With the trouble I have with the person who wants to be faithful to God, it's that trouble I have with myself, to be frank. Um, how do I follow the examples of men of faith in the Bible, the ones who inspire us, the ones who we preach about? and then time comes for us to make a decision that calls upon the same principles. And I choose
You have
to
to speak about it a bit faster because I'm having a hard time hearing it. Yeah.
forgive me. I choose the shortcut,
Yes.
the what seems like the quick fix. And yes, Father Sean is right in saying that we are all at different levels. Can I tell you, a few years ago, I spoke on the matter of gambling on a Sunday morning, and I can't up till today I can't tell you what drove me to do it. Surprisingly, the one of the persons who came to me afterwards and spelled out the significance of the message to her. This is somebody who was going to school at the time, working, but she faced a bill, and she was contemplating getting a ticket to her dreams. She made a choice, and the choice was having been prompted not to do, not to go the route of getting the ticket. So daily we're making choices. And what we do need more than anything else, I find, is a willingness to trust, a willingness to confide in one another, especially as members of the household of faith. And not just to trust and hear and confide, but to do our best to help so that people don't, we're provoking one another to do what is right, to do what is good. It I hear the talk about education and I hear the talk about hypocrisy, but there has to be the extending of the hand to help each other so that we don't go down the particular course. In the US, they tell us 70% of church going folk gamble. I don't have the figures here in Jamaica, but it is interesting that the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission have partnered with Rise Life Management to put out guidance how to help people recognize when it is no longer a hobby, it is no longer an investment, it is an addiction. And to me, it is a great contradiction when the people who are benefiting most from the gambling industry turn around and tell you, be careful about your gambling. It's a contradiction of terms.
Is it
Sorry, go ahead.
necessarily? Yes. Is it necessarily contradiction though? I would say that especially where we have a legal and regulated industry as we have in Jamaica, it would be in order to call on the industry to do certain things like facilitating mitigation approaches around the downside of gambling. So, for example, helping people to understand the addictive nature of gambling, maybe in certain gambling areas, putting up signs that remind persons, do not use your rent money, do not use your child's lunch money, things like that.
I don't think any of those things really help and really matter. It's like the cigarette carton that puts a warning there to tell the man not to smoke, but he's smoking 3 packs a day.
But
you know,
I think we have come a far way though, Steve, with the
yeah.
education around smoking. Because I remember the days when it was a given and that a part of your entertainment decor was that you had an
Yes.
ashtray on the coffee table. No, you
Yes.
I don't know that you'll go anywhere and find that. You know, in fact, many of the persons I see, not that it's limited to them, but many of the persons I see around smoking actually come from the lower socioeconomic groups. And you almost wonder how they afford to spend on the smoking habit, you know? So there, I believe there's a lot to be said for education and and continuing educational approaches.
Okay, let me just have a quick look. It's 11:28. We have a break in 2 minutes. We're getting messages on WhatsApp, Facebook, and YouTube, and we want to encourage people. We're gonna after we come back from the break, the phone lines are open: 876-968-8327, 876-968-8328. Are you a Christian who once gambled and you have moved from that darkness into light? Give us a call. Are you a Christian who gambles and you're not afraid to say I gamble because I'm convicted that it's not wrong? Give us a call. Here are some of the messages that are there coming in from people. Um, One lady says people build their houses and buy cars and send children to school, vacations from gambling and betting. They must be gambling really heavily. Um, Another person asked a question, and thanks for asking this question because I know I said something about it earlier. Good morning, Rev. Is Domino's playing at church gambling? Brethren, I play at church too. I play at my father's house. I play at my uncle's house. I play everywhere because my grandfather and all of his sons and grandsons, and some of the girls too. We are addicted to dominoes, but not to gambling. Ivan Irving, Christians should not be engaged in gambling. This is evidence in 1 Timothy 6, verse 9 to 10. But those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a snare and many foolish and harmful desires which plunge men into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is the root of all evil. And let's see what else do we have here. Playing for money. Are we playing? Oh, this is from Rev. Are we playing for money or are we relaxing and building friendships? Very good question, Rev. And then on Facebook and YouTube, just reminding you, our WhatsApp number is 9973125. Lots of messages here on Facebook. Wow. Wow. Um, Janet says, I was just having a conversation with my friend because of someone I know as a Christian just won the lotto. It's a real conversation. We must have it right. We must have it. Is it right for Christians to gamble? Right below that, Leon says Christian lifestyles is or should be the reflection of how God wants others to live and to repent. And if we, the example setters, if unbelievers see us doing otherwise, we're saying in action that it's okay to continue a certain way and you don't need to repent. We can't be preaching or portraying not to bite when we are biting. Bite, but bite, regardless of our shortcomings. We're going into the break. When we come back, we'll read more and we'll hear more. Don't give up. Call us 968-8327. WhatsApp us 9973125. And I'll be looking forward to speaking or playing with you. We'll be right back.
The moment we've been waiting for is here. It's time to go back to school. Come to Payless and find the best styles and prices for your favorite back-to-school products. Buy one item and get the second one 50% off. Restrictions apply. Valid through September 12th.
Love 101, the family station, invites you to Tech Time Drive. You can hear reminders and tips on why you should Tech Time Drive. On Tuesdays, Tech Time Drive is brought to you by Bert's Auto Parts. It hurts if you don't check Bert's. And on Wednesdays, Tech Time Drive is brought to you by AIM Financial Corporation Limited. AIM Financial Corporation has a loan for every purpose. Tech Time Drive, a bulletin of the road safety tips to help you keep safe and your head sound while driving. You only have one life. Drive it well. Tech Time Drive on the family station, Love 101.
juicy patty, them double up the choices. And we know say you want to like it. And you face start your morning and fright with a cup of porridge full of a beer niceness. Two combination, which one we try first? When you are go to school or you are go to work forward, we double can't be twice the flavor. Or could that the pecan you end up a pay for? Try our pecan porridge, that's peanut mixed with hominy. Or our double corn porridge, that's hominy mixed with cornmeal. Try it today at Juicy Patties.
Available at participating stores.
Our music rocks the world.
Our athletes run the world.
And our culture brings the whole world to our shores. After 60 years of independence, we have so much to celebrate. And if that wasn't enough, Sagicor Bank is giving you 60,000 more reasons to celebrate. From now until August 31, every $6,000 you spend on your Sagicor Bank credit card gives you a chance to be one of 60 winners of $60,000. That's a whole heap of celebration. Spend with your Sagicor Bank credit card for your chance to get 60,000 reasons to celebrate. Conditions apply.
CIBC First Caribbean reminds customers that our ABM cards will be deactivated on August 31, 2022. If you haven't already done so, please upgrade to our Visa debit card now by visiting your home branch to request a card. If you have already requested a card, when collecting it, please bring with you a valid photo ID, proof of address, and documentation to confirm your source of income. CIBC First Caribbean thanks you in advance for collecting your Visa debit card as soon as possible.
Well, if you want buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low, get it on Habashko. Get it on Habashko. Bashko. For everything what you need. Bash quality service guaranteed and Bashko. Bashko. Store that gives you more. Yeah, Bashko. Get furniture for your house, bed linen, everything for your kitchen, rugs, cups, and more at Bashko. The store that gives you more. Bashko.
Get ready for another Testimony Tuesday inside Alive, 1 to 5, August 30th. 2 o'clock will be time for Prayer Blast. More prayer, more power. 2:15 inside the evidence, we hear the testimony of Charmaine Williams, her experience of God's power through obedience. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit of recording gospel artist, marriage officer, and pastor of the Miracle Outreach Temple, Reverend Debbie Stedman. All this and more will come alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. with me, your host, Sarah Ann, the chirpy one on the family station, Love 101, Jamaica 60, reigniting a nation for greatness.
Oh boy. Oh boy. We're getting into some trouble. I got a big question on WhatsApp. I'm going to go to that question in just a minute. Just want to take some time to read some of the other messages. Have a ton of messages on Facebook. Michelle Stevens says, good morning, gentlemen. How about Christians getting involved in raffles? Is it a form of gambling? Is it right or wrong? I'm listening from Canada. Gloria says, Pastor, before you went on the break, the young man who starts scamming with his friend. My question is, what if he gets caught? Well, we try to encourage him not to. I don't know him personally, but I've had to be dealing with him through others. And I do wish that more scammers will get caught. I remember when Nigeria was very highly involved in scamming, that how I felt about Nigeria, that's how the world will see and feel about Jamaica. That's not good. So Talawa, nice to hear from you. Says the church may continue to push that gambling is wrong. However, people want to understand or at least see the biblical argument. They're not looking at verses that say God will supply all our needs, etc. It appears some want to see definitively that the Bible says gambling is wrong. Not just that gambling is wrong, that gambling is a sin. That's the argument in so many ways. Lorna Thompson says, very interesting topic. Listening attentively. Good morning, Miss Lorna. So nice to hear from you. Nice old lady. I'm thinking if that's the Lorna I know.
Caller on the line.
We have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. Welcome.
Good morning, Brother Blair, and your guest.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Auntie.
How are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored.
How can I help you today?
The topic of the gambling. As a
Yes,
Christian, it is very tempting. Yes. But it's
it
not that
is.
I said we are to eat to it. Anyway. But believe me, I can tell you I've been there, I've done that. Going to church and gambling and but in everything where the Christian life is concerned, it's a journey.
Yes.
And the word of God said our righteousness is like filthy rags. So it's only when we try our best to discipline ourselves in the Lord, not by ourselves, in the Lord, because we cannot help ourselves. Because I remember even when I think that I get over it and I say, look here, me a Christian, me not fi gamble, me done. Or like months after, year after, you will go get a dream. I say, so me I go buy the number here.
Did you
Yeah,
win?
that happened to me. I when me think so me win the
Did you
back, so
win?
me win it now. Me not gamble nothing. Because me a child of God and me not supposed to gamble.
So wait. You had a dream, you get a number, and you won?
Yes.
Okay,
I
I
remember
was just asking.
I
Yes,
remember
okay.
I go to my bed and I dream that I dream baby. And every time, always when I dream baby, the baby always play. Even if I don't buy it. So I was passing the cash shop one day and I say, me dream baby, me I go buy a number. I'm going to buy the number and the number win.
I don't know what a baby and a number mean because I'm so lost. So yes, ma'am.
And it win. So it kind of enticing. You have to be careful.
Yes.
The devil is a tricky
Yes.
fellow. You understand? And even though when people want me discussing gambling, like, they want to buy a number, we tell them, say, so me dream this. Me tell them some dream, but me no buy it. Although me no buy it, me tell them some dream or whatever. And me always say to them, say, look here, in another gambling thing, you say if me for win it, but I forgot my bag, go see somebody say, he see the 6 number, they go buy it. And that me always tell them, and wish into that, me think say that's still wrong. You understand? But you have to be dear God, see the things of God, the word of God. Let it be there to encourage you, because I look into myself and say, imagine, if God bless me with some money, He's the one who blessed me. And I have to take out my tithes and my offering. And God promised say, He will open the windows. He never said door, because door little bit. Him say windows of heaven and pour me out a blessing. If me not rob him in a tithes and offering. So right now I look up to that as my form of blessing right now. I don't have to go to gambling
I
anymore.
can chug you and everybody else with that statement, Not that I believe what I'm about to say, but suppose that's the way God's gonna open the door for you. I am just saying. But thank you for your phone call, because Father Sean has to go and I want to get his
Yes.
his
Welcome and to
yes.
all who have the addiction. I hope they will get over it. So
Thank you so much. A
yeah,
topic like this, and I don't hear from Sister Ray Ray. I don't understand what's happening out there. Father Sean, two important things here, because I'm getting lots of messages regarding the raffles which we discussed and gambling, and
Mhm.
also the fact that people say they don't want to hear a discussion. They want to know why it's a sin and where we're getting this from scripture. They want to know how to address it, which is what the program is all about. So before you disappear, can you answer any of those questions?
Okay, so just to know, so I started out by making reference to William Temple, a former Archbishop of Canterbury.
Yes.
I will also make reference to a position in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, which knows that games of chance or wagers are not in themselves contrary to justice. They become morally unacceptable when they deprive someone of what is necessary to provide for his needs and those of others.
Do we use the
Many
word
churches,
covetousness when we think about gambling?
there are times when it may be used, but I don't know that we can just wholesale decide that everybody who gambles is because they are covetous. But to come back to the matter of raffles, many would argue that on a matter of principle, it is to be seen in the same way. Another perspective is that raffle is not something that somebody does every day. It may be something that they do once for the year, and it is for a worthy cause. and it is fun, it is recreation, it is raising funds for a good cause. So there are all those perspectives to be brought to the conversation. We have unfortunately socialized our people to believe that you must just always find easy answers in the Bible, thou this, thou shalt not, and so forth. Just to know that generally speaking, I believe the broader ethic of scripture, and certainly in accordance with the kingdom, the values of the kingdom of God. Gambling on the whole would not be the way to go in terms of one's career, in terms of putting one's faith in that, and in terms of investing much of one's time and resources. But on the other hand, we do see where people in various situations, and we got a testimony there from the lady that talked about how the one who dreamed about the baby. Of course, I was wondering to myself, how she know it wasn't also an opportunity for her to think about having another baby, but that's another matter.
I was going to ask that question, yes.
So I really believe the discussion, the dialogical approach is important. Just quoting Bible verses alone and giving people the thou this and the thou that and the shalt not is not sufficient in 2022. So that's it from me for now.
Yes. Are you leaving
If I
now?
may,
Or 1 second, Pastor Everett. Are you leaving now, Father Sean?
I could probably hold on for another 5 or 7 minutes.
Okay. So go ahead, Pastor Everett.
my addition to that is we have a choice to make. We have a standard that we are striving for. We are accountable to God for what He gives us, the opportunities we have, and how we spend them, how we use them. It's not something willy-nilly. We are going to have to give an account, yes. Now, if we choose to go against what His standard is, faithful, wise stewardship, because we think faithful and wise stewardship is the long, slow, unrewarding path. And if I simply had a ticket to my dreams, I would be much better off. Yeah, then we're going to have to give an account because we're missing the mark. That would be my response to the person who says, give me it in black and white. Is gambling a sin or not? If iniquity is to miss the mark. And if we choose to pursue gambling as a course of living, yes, we've missed the mark.
Well, thank you. Now, just read one or two and then go back to Father Sean before he disappears. Marlene Da Costa, gambling is covetousness. We as Christians must not find ourselves in gambling. I saw not only people who are in need gambling, but men and women who are in good jobs, but greed causes that. Great topic, Pastor Steve. Um, so Talo has a couple comments. Think of someone with a genuine need but has no money to cover the cost and considers gambling. That person has to move from that place to believing God will provide. That's where the church and brotherly and neighborly love come into play. But our society does not work that way. Of course, we don't seem to care enough to help people to move beyond where they are. Um, Janet says, when you are addictive to something, you don't care the harm it causes. Janet, that is a 100% money winning statement because people don't care whether it be smoking, whether it be gambling, whether it be sex, these addictions, and how dangerous they are. Elroy says, gambling must stop. I used to gamble, but I stopped. Elroy, why don't call me, man? Just call on 968-8327. 9688328. We want to hear from Christians on how you stop or why you stop. Um, Let me see what my producer is saying here. Oh, a WhatsApp message. Good morning, Stephen. Guess what about you buying phone card at Lotto shop? You pass by and see a Christian. Would you think is Lotto there buying? I was never comfortable by my card. I've been in that position because there was a wholesale next to the church on Waltham Park Road. Whenever I visit there, but you know what? Um, you're buying your card, and they use the same paper that they would give to the
Yeah.
lot of people. Boy, it's
Yeah.
tough. We get so caught up in worrying about everything. But I used to drive a Range Rover. That does that mean that I'm like the people in our culture that drive Rovers that were drug dealers? We have to be careful how we draw the line. But yes, I understand your concern. Two more. Um, Michelle Stevens at the very end, Kathy says, regardless of the purpose of the raffle, whether it's for a reasonable cause or not, all I want to know is it right or wrong. Boy, oh boy. Um, Now I'll be very honest. I might get myself in trouble, but we've been involved in so many raffles over the years, and all of a sudden, I think within the law of Jamaica, it became an issue of gambling. If I can remember, Pastor Edwards became an
Yeah.
issue, and to have it, you have to go through the bettings
BBFC.
and gamings. Does that make it gambling? I don't know. I have a question, Father Sean, before you go. This is a tough question. Why am I allowed to buy stocks and take from others who are losing their stocks so that I can gain? What's the difference between that and me buying a number? Father Sean, your mic is off? Yes.
Yes, and I believe that's a very reasonable question. Um, what probably is significantly different about it, however, is that it is having bought the stocks. It's almost like a one-off. It's not necessarily an everyday activity that you are doing that you are going to become addicted to, that you are likely to spend your rent money on, or your mortgage money, or your children lunch money, or their school book money, and so on. So I do believe there is a difference. Similarly, the matter raised earlier, the matter of rally in church, I don't believe there is really a comparison.
All right. I'll hold that as your last statement. Thank you. Have a good day.
All
And
the very best, and we want to remember that in gambling, few win, many lose. And for the Christian, we base our faith on the firm foundation of Jesus Christ our Lord. God bless and keep you all.
yes, Pastor Edwards.
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to say about the stock market as against gambling, you make an investment in the stock market based on what the company is offering you in terms of returns. And secondly, is this something, are they selling you something? Are they involved in a business that is consistent with your faith? So you're not going in there to hope that somebody loses out on business for your thing gain. You are investing with a view to a return. That's where you get what do you call it, return on shares or what
Yes.
dividends, whatever they
Yes.
call it. Mhm.
But as I look at the Bible, there are several things I'd like to bring out. The Apostle Paul said, he who has been stealing must steal no longer, but must work, doing something
Yes.
useful, Ephesians 4:28, with his own hands, that he may have something to share with those in need. Gambling holds out the dream that it is possible to get something for nothing. It can
Mhm.
encourage laziness rather than work, and laziness is condemned in Scripture. In fact, if I can give
Yes.
another scripture here, um, I like Paul's writing. This was my motto as a young man growing up and going to college. In my radio class, my professor gave us Colossians 3:17. In Colossians 3:23 and 24, Paul says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working unto the Lord, not for men, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving." And in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 7 and 10, he says, "For you yourselves know how you ought to follow our example." He goes on to say this, "For even when we were with you, we gave you this rule: if a man will not work, he will not eat." But people are going to become addicted to gambling to fund themselves instead of working for themselves. And as I say in my church, I ask every member in my church, here's the biggest gamble that you must do. Forsake all else outside of Christianity. Go back to school, increase your education capacity, and look at the returns. And I can give you examples of dozens of them who've obeyed Pastor Blair since I started pastoring in 1999. I have a domestic helper in Cayman who was earning $500 or $600 a month. And she went back, got her degree, and is now teaching and is on the radio following her mentor and is now earning several $1,000s a month. Why? Because that was the biggest gamble. It was a step of faith, but called a gamble. She put in something to get something out, and what she got out was an educational capacity that enabled her to earn more. Okay. Sharon Miller says, yes, sir, go ahead.
If you don't mind sharing two references. Hebrews 13, verse 5, coming out of the English Standard Version. Keep your life free from the love of money and be content with what you have. For he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. And then out of Ecclesiastes 5, verse 10, he who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. This also is vanity. Take it from a man who was there and did it. Solomon. Yeah. So we're spoken to in clear terms about just what motivates the desire to get wealth. And gambling is not the recommended route.
Yes. I don't know if we have a call in studio, but I know we have a WhatsApp and other things taking place. Give me the voice notes if you don't have the call, please, so that we can allow
of cash pot,
what
because
they
when
have
I
to
was a
be
little
said to
baby
be heard.
girl, maybe Brother Blair, I used to love cash pot, because when I was a little baby girl, maybe in grade 2, the lady used to sell on my aunt's place. And so I always even buy when I was a little bit. And I grow up, and I don't know if I'm addicted, but I just like to write numbers. I love numbers. So sometimes I don't even buy, but I want to write numbers. And I can win when I want to win, so I don't even. And Brother Blair, when I go back in church, I make sure when I dream, I make sure it is moved thoroughly from my brains, because you're looking for what you did not put down, and you sometimes give away what you have, plus everything is gone. So I don't believe in gambling. I don't believe in it. It's guys looking for what you did not put down. That is gambling.
We have more? Okay. So,
good morning, Pastor Blair. Good morning to
good
you,
morning.
guests, and
Yes.
all the hosts.
Good morning.
Yeah, I believe gambling is wrong. It should not happen. If you're going to church and you're a child of the King, we should not gamble. I used to go to church, but never seriously going to church. I used to buy cash pot, but that time I wasn't seriously going to church. Now I give my heart to the Lord. I know I must not buy cash pot. I know a pastor, say my pastor, so I have to say. And every Friday evening, you see him at the machine buying his lotto, his lottery. There's a gentleman that does not believe in God, and he always come to me and say, if all him could have preached to him and every day when him go there for buy in lottery, him is there. That man cannot preach in his
You can
district.
cut and move to the next one, please. We're running out of time.
He attach a case because he can't preach in his district. Everybody know what he's doing. So if we
Pastor Steve, I think it's broad. You got to broaden it, the gambling a little bit more, because it stocks. People buy a lot of stocks too, and it's a form of gambling. Also, if you motor car, you buy a motor car, it's a gambling because you don't know what will happen to it. You may just drive it out and boop, it crash or something. So it's very wide. Thanks.
All right. Thank you,
Is
everyone.
that a call or is that voice note?
Those were voice notes, yes. So
Okay.
just to take a minute, Michelle says, regardless of the purpose of the raffle, whether it is for a reasonable cause or not, all I want to know is it right or wrong. I bought raffle tickets before it became an issue. I don't know. A lot of people are asking about this raffle issue. I just know that to do a raffle, I've got to go to bettings and gamings. And once I realize that's what I've got to do in this country, I don't do it because it becomes a betting and gaming issue.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sharon Miller says, good morning, everyone. A church brother of mine testimony was that he was so addicted to gambling that he would lend his own money to his fellow gamblers when they're broke so that he can keep gambling. That was before he met Christ. God delivered him from this addiction. He's a mighty God. Thank God. Rev, time to go. Give me 20 seconds, 30
sir.
seconds. What would you say to the people?
God honors those who honor him. He is not going to leave you or forsake you. And if you trust him with the little that you have, he will multiply it to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to be controversial. I've said before, for those who are calling about the raffles, we've been a part of it forever. And if we were doing it forever, do we call it a gambling situation today? I've drawn a line like you, and for me, my answer would be no. But I don't buy horse racing, and as much as I would love to win the $75 million lotto or the $3 billion lotto, I won't buy it because it's not right and it's not morally right. That's where we draw the line. This is the rock. Some things we've got to make a decision on, even though the Bible doesn't address it, and we call those moral issues that lead to righteousness. I'm Pastor Steve. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Nadine. This is your show, The Rock. Good day, Rockites. Have a great week. See you next week. And love.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to The Rock. And just a quick note that betting, gaming, and lotteries, they also deal with other things that are not only related to gambling. So that's why media houses, including Love 101, will have certain commercials that have that tag, but it does not mean it is gambling. But more on that. This is Love 101. Very interesting show today. Well, each week. And persons are still sending in their texts and all of that, I tell you. Thank you so much for